introduce both speakers. So first of all, it's a great honor to have Tetsuro Matsuzawa here, or actually Matsuzawa Sensei, as they would say in Japan, from the Kyoto University Primate Research Institute. And well, Matsuzawa is a world-famous primatologist, and what makes his work so special is actually that he is doing research in the wild, but also in the lab, so he's combining the two. And in the I project, a project launched in the 70s, he is studying language-like skills and number concepts. And another famous project focuses on the behavior of wild chimpanzees in Guinea. And those chimps are using anvil and hammer to crack open nuts, so that's quite amazing. And today he will explain us the consequences of having two hands for social behavior. And he will also speak about the power of imagination, which came, according to him, at the cost of memory, of immediate memory, I should say. So I met Matsuzawa in 2010 in the United States, and his talk really excited me and actually set me on the path to study great apes as well. And last year he gave a wonderful talk at the Cognition, Behavior and Evolution Network meeting, which some of you attended. And on that meeting I also met Professor Jan van Hoof. Well, most of you know Jan van Hoof because he's very frequently seen on the different media. And also I really enjoyed this television broadcast where you explained and demonstrated the evolutionary benefits of tongue kissing. I didn't know that was so useful. But on a more serious note, Jan van Hoof is a top scientist and an absolute pioneer in the field of emotional research in great apes, in non-human primates. And he grew up in Burgers Zoo, which was directed by his parents, and he was trained by nobody less than Nico Tinbergen and Desmond Morris. So his studies on facial expressions and on laughter in particular inspired and inspires scientists across the world. And today he will talk about whether we understand the animal mind, and also whether we can perhaps shape artificial minds. And what I didn't know, and what I actually found out last year, is that those two gentlemen are friends. And I thought, well, of course they share a passion, right? And I thought it would be really nice if those two friends can meet and can talk about their passion. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have both of them here. And without much further ado, I'd like to give the word to Professor Matsuzawa. Doet u niet? Wat staat aan? Ja. Dichter bij me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tetsuro Matsuzawa from Japan. It's my great pleasure to be here to talk about my study on chimpanzees and also have time to discuss with my old friend Professor Jan van Hoof. And it's a special honor to be here in Seabold House. Seabold House. Very famous, how do I say, biologist? Not only biologist, cultural anthropologist, who introduced Japan to the West. So today, Aim of talk, key question for me is, what is uniquely human? And outline of talk, as introduction, first I want to talk about primates. What is primates? And my own research method. And based on this introduction, today I will talk about 3 topics. First one is origin of bipedalism. Bipedalism is a definition of humans. Supine posture. Supine posture means lying on the back. Prone, supine. Supine means lying on the back. That makes us human. And language. Of course, language is uniquely human. So 3 topics. So one by one, I want to talk to you. First of all, I want to remind you of the following thing. No monkeys and no apes in North America and in Europe. No American monkey, British monkey, French monkey, German monkey, Dutch monkey. Japanese monkey. So among G7 or summit country in the advanced countries, Japan is very rare, only one that has indigenous monkeys, what we call Japanese monkey or snow monkey. Except humans, non-human primates, about 350 species. They lived in the green part of the map, so Central South America, Africa, India, Southeast Asia. So Japan is the northern limit of monkeys. So that is the reason why primatology is ahead in Japan, leading country. Japan has been the leading country of the study of non-human primates, thanks to the natural environment. And in my case, I have been focusing on chimpanzees. Why? Because chimpanzees are the closest relative. To know humans, I wanted to know chimpanzees. Well, suppose that you want to know your country. You may learn the history of your country, geography of your country, social system of your country, but the simplest way to know your country is going abroad. Once you go abroad to see the other country, now you recognize what is your country. So that, suppose that, so the same logic. I'm very much interested in humans, and many scholars has been studying humans in various angles, so that I want to know chimpanzees to know humans as a whole. So this is chimpanzee, mother infant. And the same genus Pan has different species, bonobos. So chimpanzee, bonobo. Chimpanzee, bonobo. Chimpanzee, bonobo. Homo sapiens, Homo neanderthalensis. The relationship is the same. Chimpanzee, bonobo. Homo sapiens, Homo neanderthalensis. And gorilla. And orangutan. So humans, chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and orangutans are hominid. Why? Because no tail. As you know, monkeys has tails, but apes do not have any tail at all. And human, no tail. So the same. So humans and great apes consists of the family hominid consists of human and great apes. So I went to see Borneo orangutan, and orangutan is almost 100% arboreal, always in the tree. So you have to look up the orangutan. And when you looked up the orangutan, you did not recognize you are eaten by the leeches. You agree? This is a leech who sucked my blood. Let's kill him. And last year, for the first time, I went to Sumatra to see Sumatra orangutan. So orangutan is in Borneo and also in Sumatra. Sumatra orangutan and again leech. I went to Yunnan, China, to see snub-nosed monkeys. I like mountaineering. And amazingly, snub-nosed monkeys spread up to 4,000 meters high. So today, Mount Fuji exhibition, Fuji is 3,776 meters high. But more than 4,000 meters, there is a species called snub-nosed monkey, and a beautiful mountain. Snub-nosed monkey is very unique because they live on lichen. It's not tasty, I tried to eat. And even more, they eat snow. Very strange creature. And last year, for the first time, now after watching monkeys and apes, I wanted to see humans, hunter-gatherers, pygmy living in Cameroon. Why pygmy? There are various hunter-gatherers like Australian Aborigine, or Bushman in Namibia, or Eskimo Inuit in Alaska. But those people live in the desert or ice area. But pygmy live in the tropical rainforest, sympatric, coexisting with chimpanzees and gorillas. So they in the same environment how people live in the forest. So that was my motivation to know their life in the tropical forest. And it was very interesting. Very humble house, but the inside was very comfortable. So the second part of my introduction is my research method. Synthesizing. I try to synthesize the two different approach, fieldwork and laboratory work. People used to the observation in the wild, in their natural habitat, to know the wild chimpanzees, their way of life. And people used to do the cognitive study in the laboratory to know their mind, to analyze their memory, perception, social cognition, and so forth. But if you put the methods and places in the 2x2 contingency table, you recognize there are two blank windows. So you may do the experiments in the wild, in the field experiment. Or you may do the careful observation of chimpanzees in captivity, what I call participant observation. I participate their daily life in captivity as a member of the community. So fieldwork I started in 1986. So every year, December, January, I went to Africa to see the wild chimpanzees. And the place is Bosu, left side, The country is Guinea, Conakry. There is a field station there. Bosu Nimba is designated UNESCO's World Natural Heritage Site. And chimpanzees use a pair of stones to crack open nuts. That is a unique cultural tradition of this community. And field experiment. This is the outdoor laboratory for the field experiment. It looks natural, just a forest. But it's an outdoor laboratory because if you 1 step, 2 step, 3 step back, it's like this. So grass fence. So behind the grass fence, you can see the chimpanzees without disturbance. Chimpanzee at Bosu use a pair of stones to crack open nuts, crack open the hard shell to get the kernel inside, edible item. And I want to show you the video clip. Oops. So the experimenter, the researcher provides the stones and nuts, and I marked the stone to know which stone was used as hammer and anvil. So researchers observe and record their behavior from a distance. And not only the tool use, but also you can see just an ordinary social life in the forest. Young female teasing the old lady and the kid too. Well, unfortunately, the number of chimpanzees at Bosu is decreasing. And in contrast, in PRI, Primate Research Institute of Kyoto University, in the past 4 decades, I'm trying to make a community of chimpanzees. So Bosu chimpanzee, Kyoto University chimpanzee. So I want to make simulating a whole community, not focusing on one individual. So laboratory work since 1977, so this is 39 years old long-running project. That is called AI project because of the female chimpanzee named Ai, spelled AI. Pronunciation is I, and the meaning is love in Japanese, and very popular girl name in Japan. Many Ai-chan in Japan. So 1985, 31 years ago, I published a paper in Nature titled Use of Number in a Chimpanzee. So 30 years ago, the paper got the attention of the scholars all over the world. And we try to teach not only Arabic numerals but also the other letters of alphabet, Arabic numerals, kanji Japanese letters, and so forth. So I want to introduce participant observation. What does it mean? Classic way of comparing two species, humans and chimpanzees, is as follows. You put baby chimpanzee at home. The logic is very clear. Keep the two species in exactly the same environment, same stimulation, same life. Then suppose that human babies start to speak, but chimpanzee, they don't speak. So language is uniquely human. That is the logic of the study. But when I have an opportunity, mother chimpanzee abandoned the baby, so I was forced to raise the baby chimpanzee at home with my daughter. Of course, the right side is my daughter. They look similar. But when I had the opportunity, I immediately recognized it's not fair because my daughter has a parents, but the baby chimpanzee has no parents at all. It's not fair to compare like this. The baby chimpanzee is forced to adapt to human environments. If you separate a baby chimpanzee from the mother, look depressive. You shouldn't do so. So only one thing I made a change. So for almost 100 years, the Western scholars try to compare human and chimpanzee in such a situation. But I wanted to make a change. Only one change. Mother rear the baby. The baby is reared by the biological mother. You should not separate the baby from the mother. As you see, placenta and cord, so this is right after the birth. I get into the birth cage to see the mother and the baby. And thanks to the long-running relationship for a long time, I can ask the mother to help me to test your kid. So 2005, Ayumu, the boy, is 5 years old. 2009, 9 years old. So every day I stay with mother and the son. And 2012, 2014. By the way, my hair was black. And getting white. Well, let me repeat. So, participant observation, the advantage is very clear. Exactly the same situation. You can test the two species thanks to the relationship to the mother. And in the outdoor compound is now surrounded by the green huge cage and silver cage. So it's a very unique habitats. So 3 different habitats are interconnected, and one community of chimpanzee occupy different habitats because of fission-fusion structure, social structure. I want to show you what's going on now. So 15 meters high climbing frames, outdoor compound that is connected to the silver cage. From the chimpanzee's viewpoint, 1, 2, 3, 4 walk-in booths at the level of the 4th floor. Whenever you want, you may come to the booth. and always fully automated computer system. So 1 for chimpanzee touching the numeral in an ascending order, 279. And the correct answer is rewarded by 8mm cube of apple. The size is exactly the same as Antiaris africana, the favorite fruit in the forest. So I wanted to simulate their life in Africa. And whenever you want, you may leave. Then the next chimpanzee comes to the booth. So it's free. So based on their free will, you can test the cognition in captivity. Using video camcorder to do the automated face recognition to know which chimpanzee comes to the place. Because every chimpanzee has a different level of study. So bipedalism, so 3 topics. The first one is bipedalism. Human evolution is characterized by having 2 feet, of course, but it is from the primate common ancestor of 4 hands. It is not 2 hands from 4 legs. Naive belief. I think every person here, naive belief, 4-legged animals walking. Then human evolution, standing up. So 2 folians freed from locomotion, and that freed hand started to manipulate objects, and that object turned to become tools, and effective tools enlarge your brain, and that enlarged brain makes more complicated, complex tool. So that is the evolutionary scenario. And now Matsuzawa says it's completely wrong. It's almost lie. Completely wrong. I want to explain why. I started to study horses in Japan and in Portugal. Very much interested in horse. Horse, 4-legged animals. Monkeys quadrupedally walking on the ground, but when they stop, do they stop like horse? When they stop, what do they do? Imagine, they do like this. Upright posture, body trunk is upright. Why? Because they climb up to the tree. Horizontal body trunk, you cannot climb up. So to climb up, you have to right up the body trunk to climb. So actual human evolution, the scenario is from 4-legged animals, yes, I agree, but to 4 hands primates. Primates are 4 hands. 4 legs turn to 4 hands to grasp trees, branches. Then from the common ancestor, the primates going down to the ground again. We invented 2 feet, not 2 hands. 4 hands animals created 2 feet. So the green one, 2 hands primates, that is the key. So from 4-legged animals, as you may know, 66 million years ago, the Earth made a big climate change, and the dinosaurs all died, all gone. The common ancestor of mammals went to a different environment, niche. Horses stay on the ground, 4 legs. But bats, look at bats. Horse, bats. Flying into the sky, wing. And dolphins. In the sea, legs turn to fin. And primates. So that is foot, but look like hand. Foot look like hand. Yeah? Gorilla foot look like hand. I went to the paleoanthropological site in Lake Turkana, Kenya. It's a desert, very hot place. And they dig the ground and footprints in this case. 1.5 million years ago, footprints. Try to find human footprints. And there was it. And my foot and fossil hominid footprint. The same. And when I walk Lake Turkana, I recognize my footprint, and the right side is ungulate footprint. But 5 minutes later, when I return, the water comes into my footprint, so preserves the shape, very beautiful. So supine posture. Infant is physically separated from the mother and takes a stable supine posture. That makes us human. Chimpanzee infant, putting on the back, cannot stable. Right arm and left leg lifted up. 5-6 seconds later, left arm and right leg. Alternative, slowly change. And the same story to the orangutan. Chimpanzee, orangutan. Chimpanzee, orangutan. Chimpanzee, orangutan. The same. Why? They want to cling to the mother. So 24 hours a day, right after the birth, for 3 months, never away from the mother, always cling. So hands are not free, always cling the mother. So humans are unique because of infants' stable supine posture. Stable supine posture, why it's so important? Because of face-to-face communication, looking into eyes, smiling, maybe pupil size assimilation, and vocal exchange. Only human babies cry in the night. It's a nightmare for the parents. Cry in the night. Chimpanzee baby never cry in the night because no need to cry to get the attention of the mother. You yourself try to get the nipple to suck the milk. And hands are free from the beginning. So that manual gesture and object manipulation turn to become tool use. Vocal exchange turn to become speech. So in chimpanzee, eye-to-eye contact to some extent. But human baby, look at the face, look at the lip, mouth, smile. Yeah? So neonatal smiling, so innate response, spontaneous response to smile. So smiling attracts the attention of the adults. Chimpanzee smile too, but let me skip it. And the last topic is language. Language is uniquely human, but human language developed for sharing information among the adults who collaborate to rear the children. It's not a matter of abstract concept, symbols, representation, no. Sharing the information among adults. That is the essential part of language. So each chimpanzee learn to label color to the letter. Oops. White goes to the letter white. Green goes to the letter green. Brown, the letter brown. Clear? Purple. And the reverse. Pink. Japanese letter decoded. Brown. Red. Green. Gray. But this is not so easy for the chimpanzees. We can teach the letter, but it was not so easy. In contrast to it, Arabic numerals. Chimpanzees use Arabic numerals to count the number of white dots. 7. How many white dots? 5. 1. 6. And pretty difficult. Okay, let me skip. Chimpanzee learn to touch Arabic numerals 1 through 19. It's very quick. So what we tried is the memory test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. After touch 1, the other numerals gone. But chimpanzee can remember which numeral appeared in which position. Don't worry, you cannot do it. I know only chimpanzee, young chimpanzees can do it. So our common ancestor may have this kind of capability, but we lost it. But in return, in the course of human evolution, we acquire the power of language to share the experience with the friends, families, to do the collaborative hunting, and to get the meat and bring it back to the home base to share the meat with the women and the children. So that is my evolutionary scenario. Thank you for your attention.
So, thank you very much. Next speaker is Professor Johan.
Iets gebeuren.
Er moet iets gebeuren, ja.
Die zal ik snel dingen.
Je bedoelt je deze?
Dat zoek ik. Iemand. Oké. Goed. Ik zal hem even inzetten. Ja, dus. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to look back 55 years precisely when I went to Oxford to Nico Tinbergen, and it has been mentioned, and under the guidance also of Dr. Desmond Morris. I was extremely inspired by Tinbergen's work on animal behavior, but he worked on fish, on birds and things like that, but I was interested in primates. And my big inspiration at the time was this book, The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. When I came to Nico Tinberg, he said, okay, Darwin may have written that, but how does he know about emotions in man and men, of course, but in animals? And he said, okay, we'll see what it gets you. You could work on, let's say, communicative behavior. And that's what I started doing. I worked on facial expressions. And this is a picture taken from Darwin's very famous book, The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. You know that Darwin wrote 3 books. He wrote a lot of things, but his 3 main works are, of course, what was it? On evolution, the first book, then The Descent of Man, and then his 3rd book was the Expression of the Emotion in Man and Animals. And that was for him, it was a very important book, because he was convinced that not only evolution concerned the physical structures of animals, plants and living organisms, but also the mental faculties and the neural structures underlying these, although he didn't know anything about that at the time. But he was convinced that also the mind was a product of evolution. And that was a thought that was, well, quite shocking at the time. Darwin thought, what do I look at? And what are the expressions of the mind? And he thought of the emotions. Because in a sense he thought, that's what the soul of the individual is. It's in the emotions. And we may perhaps in the discussion continue that discussion when we think of shaping, we try to understand life and animals, but people are shaping life at the moment. If you look into the literature, you see that people are trying to find out, scientists, what is it that is essential for life? Can we construct that? Can we construct the mind also? And especially in Japan, one is busy with trying to make robots, automata, that interact with people. There's a lot of interest also in our part of the world. This summer, coming summer, there will be a big conference in Erice in Italy, where people will talk about emotions and especially to what extent it may be possible to make automata that show emotions. You would say, why that? Because of course if you have a robot and it has to take care of people, of mentally retarded people, of elderly people, but also of people who need care. And these robots have to interact. They have to do 2 things. They have to understand the emotional expressions of the people with which they interfere and with which they interact. At the same time, they have to create the illusion towards the patient, the elderly, the people they take care of, to create the illusion that there is an organism, so to speak, that takes care of them and that understands them. So it's, in fact, can we create humanoids? What is the essence of a humanoid? Well, we can make apparatus at the moment that do quite a lot of thinking. If I put it a little bit arbitrarily, a little bit as a caricature, one could say, okay, all what is concerned with the cortex, we can reasonably well model in a artifact. We can have chess computers, we can have cars that drive themselves along the road. The end is not yet in sight, but we are advancing very much. But these are still automata. And what is the essence of a living being? It's that it has an understanding about itself, certainly in humans, but then also it has motives, it has interests, it has concerns about things, it has priorities, it makes choices on the basis of concerns that it has. Can we model that in apparatus? Can we create apparatus that, so to speak, have an interest in certain things, in maintaining themselves in the first place, and then choosing and doing things and making decisions not on a rational basis, but on a basis in terms of the interest it has for the apparatus itself in maintaining itself, or something like that. Well, we might discuss that, whether that is a possibility, but certainly there are people who think that this is within sight, not in the coming 100 years perhaps, but even later. Anyway, emotions, they're extremely interesting. Here you see a picture made by Darwin in his book, The Expression of the Emotion in Man. And it's obvious that he treats these things very anthropomorphically. A chimpanzee disappointed and sulky. And when I came to Nico Tinberg and I said I wanted to study facial expressions in primates, it seems so interesting to look at them from a comparative and evolutionary point of view to see whether we can homologize these things. He said, okay, that's right. And when I had my first pictures, this is from my first publication in 1962, and there I talk about a scared threat face and having anger, etc. And I remember that Nico Tinbergen told me, Jan, don't do that. You don't know what is an aggressive threat face. What do you see? You see bare teeth and things like that. So, that's what you see, and talk about that. And then, you look at the circumstances in which these things are shown, these expressions, what are the circumstances that provoke it, what the effects in the social atmosphere, and then you can deduce function and causation, etc. But you don't know about any emotion. We can't see emotion. So that's what I did. I looked at the expression, the tense mouth face, looked at where it is being shown. For instance, when an animal has to aim at a grape which is here on the thing and concentrates and throws this, and then you notice that some of these facial expressions that also are used in the social interaction, like here. If I am very concentrated and approach a fellow of mine, it usually doesn't spell any good. So the origin of the facial expressions was a thing that interested me tremendously, and I tried to approach that as objectively as possible and refrain from any comments in terms of emotions and so. Well, the question is, of course, do expressions reflect emotions? Behaviorists 20, 30, 40 years ago were quite outspoken about this. They wouldn't talk about emotions and things like that. Nowadays, it's not that difficult to find all kinds of publications on animal emotions. And you could say, what does it mean? Is it not a completely redundant concept, emotion? We can talk about motivation. We can talk about characteristics of the animal in terms of his behavioral tendencies. Keep to that and simply avoid the term emotion. But that's not what is happening, because people have started to think also, what do we mean by emotion? Because that's the question you have to ask. What do you mean? Now, there are lots of studies that have categorized emotion, and here's a study, I forgot who did it. This is the wheel of emotions. This is all the emotions: bewildered, discouraged, insignificant, inadequate, embarrassed, overwhelmed, daring, fascinating. All emotions. Who has thought this up? I can think of probably a lot of things which are not in these circles, and I wonder what is the rationale behind these categorizations. Now, in many of these psychological studies, the rationale behind it is simply that you ask people to name all the emotions they come on, and that come to mind, and you're going to arrange them in circles, such as this one: peaceful versus joyful, scared versus, I can't even read that. Okay, there are many scientists who are not completely satisfied with that kind of approach. There's a more objective one to look at it. First of all, you have to be sure, what do you mean by emotion? If you look at our own species, we know that emotion is not the same as a feeling or a mood. These are things that are there. I can have a feeling about things, but an emotion is an immediate positioning with regard to something in the environment, something that occurs. It has a cognitive aspect in terms of knowing what it is, but then also the valuation in terms, what does it mean to me? What is the importance of it for me? And what we also know, that it is a lot of physiological processes go hand in hand with it, accompany our subjective experience of an emotion and behavior. But this is the thing that is reported in all these studies. Of course, if you look at animals and you think of animals, there is no way of getting access to the subjective experience. So keep to motivations, keep to feelings, keep to moods. Well, at the moment there are a number of authors, and I take here Pruchik, who has tried to approach it from a more biological and comparative point of view. And he has come up, and I'm not going to talk about how he did, but with a number of main categories of emotion that we can distinguish in human beings: anger, fear, sadness, joy, disgust, surprise, curiosity, and acceptance. Okay, they're all arranged as opposites: anger versus fear, joy versus sadness. Disgust is a little bit of an odd one, but it is also content. And a number of people have come up with some of these main categories. One of the most famous researchers in this respect is Ekman. He has looked at facial expressions. And then I felt a little bit at home, because I looked at facial expressions as well. And he came up with a couple of categories: anger, fear, sadness, joy, disgust, and surprise, as the main basic emotions, he thought, that are discretely distinguishable from one another, although there is lots of overlap in it. And of course, my promoter at the time was Nico Freida, who also came up with about 6 emotions. And Freida gave it a more empirical basis, in that he said it has to do with our appreciation. Of course, if you look at humans, events are appreciated as beneficial or harmful in terms of the needs and the concerns of the individual. And that leads to specific action readiness. Because that's an essential thing of emotion. It's an immediate, it's a response. Freida tried to categorize it. He came up with the same 5-6 emotions on the basis of facial expressions that could be identified, that are different, and that can be identified in this way. I think an ethologist and an evolutionary ethologist looks at it also in this way, in a sense, because he regards it as, he looks at action readinesses, at behavioral aspects of what he sees, the behaviors. But if he looks at expression movements, as Freida did, we also, as biologists, wonder about why would we express it? Because we realize that many of these expressions are ritualized. In animals also, they have evolved as communicative signals. That is what they are. And so I went about categorizing non-human primate facial expression. In this case, it's a repertoire for a macaque type of monkey. And by simply describing them, you can number quite a few of these, and they correspond quite nicely with some of the expressions that people like Freida have been studying, and Paul Ekman have been studying for the human species. And the question is then, in humans, these are these are labeled also in terms of their objective form, but also as an emotion, as an emotion. If I do that, I could in a way say, okay, here we have facial expressions which have to do with attack or with threat. Okay? one could call that anger. And there are others which have to do with flight, with withdrawal and things like that. We could call that fear. Okay, we have others which are with attention and concentration. There are those which have to do with desire and affection, making contact. One can also all describe these facial expressions in terms of the action tendencies that they represent, which is attack, flight, making social contact, or indeed also help, need, sadness, the pout face in many primates, which is helplessness, please help me. It's an infantile signal that is given, and the mother usually reacts very strongly to it. And then there's another one which could be likened with joy and pleasure, the relaxed open mouth face. I'll take the latter one as an example. Note, by the way, that one of these labels of emotion I couldn't fit in with any of the primate facial expressions, at least not in a ritualized sense that is used in communication, and that's the one of disgust. And disgust is one of the main basic emotions in the human species, and it's a nasty smell, a nasty thing, and it is also ritualized, has been ritualized in our expression of contempt. So it's used socially, it's a very important expression. But there's nothing in the non-human primate repertoire that I have identified as a possible homologue. I will go now to one of these facial expressions, facial categories, and that's what I call the relaxed open mouth face. Just to see how it fits into, if you compare it with our human categories of emotion, as that have been studied by Ekman and Friesen and Leif-Reidhaar, what it is. Well, the relaxed open mouth face is shown during social play, and social play in primates, as in many other animals, is a kind of fake wrestling, fake fighting. We call it gnaw wrestling. In het Nederlands zou ik zeggen stoeien, ravotten, met elkaar bezig zijn. And it's characterized by this gnawing one another, and that particular facial expression has been isolated from this context and can be given from a distance to another one as a play invitation. Here you see social fighting in foxes, and again you see this open mouth play face, as I call it, relaxed open mouth face. The eyes are relaxed, the whole of the body is relaxed, there is no tension in it. In that respect, it's completely different from the threat faces, the tense open mouth faces, staring open mouth face, and things like that. Here you see it, and these animals, known for their poorness of facial expressions and expressive behaviors, bears play, and they have the same play face. Different from this. Certainly not. Here there is tension, everything else. This is serious behavior. Look, by the way, at the hands. They are telling very much. This is the fearful man. And it is universal. Ekman has done comparative anthropological studies to show that. Here it is, relaxed open mouth face. And this facial expression is also accompanied by particular sounds. And these sounds, I will first show you the sounds. There's a breathing pattern in a chimpanzee when they play, and especially when they are being played with. They react in a kind of staccato breathing that sounds like this. It is an interrupted exhalation, inspiration, exhalation, inspiration. It's different from our laughter, but resembles it. Our laughter is a series of inhibited expirations. You say, ha, 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 ha. Stick, and then an inspiration howl, and then you give your next salvo. My interpretation of that it is a ritualized ambivalence of tense inhalation and relaxing expiration. If you play, and if you play with a chimpanzee or any monkey, you know that the fun of playing, and I use this word already, the fun of playing is in providing something unexpected, which is expected, because otherwise you wouldn't play. It's the expected unexpected. If you make a tickling machine, you can simulate tickling. Tickling normally is a very efficient stimulus to provoke this play phase and this reaction to the play phase, the appreciation of play in an animal. But if you do that quite, let's say, in a way that there is no change, no unexpected variation in it, it's no fun, and the animals don't laugh anymore, because it will be obvious to you that that is what I regarded as the equivalent of laughter. And I believe it is something that is comparable to the type of ritualized ambivalence that Tim Bergen originally described, where you see the exaggeration, the stylization, and that we find also in laughter. Here we see the sound spectrogram of laughter of humans, which is expiration, 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 and here the inspiration hole, so that's ha 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 ha. Here you see it in a chimpanzee, and that is ha 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 ha, inspiration, expiration, inspiration, expiration, inspiration. So there is comparison. Now watch these animals play, and I want to draw your attention to what's happening here. This is what we call autoplay. Play on your own, not with somebody else, not signaling to a partner that you are playing, but this chap is playing in itself, and he uses this social signal, which has obviously been evolved in order to inform others that you are in a playful mood, that it is not serious, because that's the essence of what you see here. But here this animal does it on its own. It does it completely in itself. It is obviously the whole sense of the self-rewarding activity that it shows here. And you can't escape the impression that here there must be a certain subjective experience. We don't know precisely what it is, but that it must be some analogous thing to our behavior. Here we see other things that show how this behavior has been emancipated, and it is fun. It has become the expression of fun. This is a chimpanzee that plays a game with itself, blind and buffs. It takes a risk. It walks across a beam with its head covered and enjoyed it. If you look at his face underneath, he shows this relaxed open mouth face, what we call the fun face. Here we see peekaboo game in chimpanzees. This chimpanzee has a towel and it puts it in front of its head, then it lowers it, then it puts it up again, and then it lowers it again. And this chap thinks it is absolute fun. And this one is a little bit amazed. But here it becomes, these are expressions that have evolved as social signals to inform others of your playful intention. It's not serious which you're going to hit the other one, but it is for fun itself. And that is the function that we see in the relaxed open mouth face. It establishes a playful relation with the partner. It's laughing at the partner. It is relational. It establishes a playful, tensionless relationship between the two playmates. In humans, we see that the laugh emancipates and becomes much more. In addition to what we see already with chimpanzees, that it becomes a general expression of pleasure, of that animals enjoy situation in which they occur. In humans, we see also the occurrence of a different type of laugh, which I call the comment laugh. And that is when two of us stand here and we do not laugh at each other because we are going to make jokes on one another, but instead we laugh about him over there. Look at that. Isn't that funny? So it becomes a comment on situations that we observe. We laugh about things, laugh about something, declare it funny. We laugh with a partner, together. And then it becomes referential. It's a comment on things, whether they are serious, to be taken serious or not, whether it's funny or not funny. And there it begins to look this expression to take on a characteristic which is a characteristic for our human language. Now, you know all about these studies. We know that chimpanzees can learn quite a number of symbols, up to hundreds. It is a question of debate, but I don't think it's very strong. Whether there is any syntax, no, I don't think there is. But they can do that. It's obviously the emancipation of this referential system that has made humans almost unique, I would say. But this is not only this thing that happens. This is all, if you like, and I'm simplifying a little bit, this is matter of the cortex, if you want. The essential thing in animals and beings that interact with another, that is in the brainstem, that's down low, and that is choices, norms, interests, concerns, and that is what motivates behavior. And in this respect, you see that chimpanzees are a little bit in our way. They can point. This chimpanzee has learned to point at something, and he can emphasize the point. You see, there is where you have to look. Somebody else, what's his name, Tomasello, has pointed out that there is an essential difference between the pointing and the language used, the use of symbols in chimpanzees and in humans. And when I say there's an essential difference, I know that all these things are gradual, but there is a strong difference, let's put it that way. And that is that in chimpanzees, the communication is instrumental, is about what I want, what I ask, what I want you to do. It's imperative and requiring. I have raised young chimpanzees at home in Utrecht, where I live, in our family. And when I was sitting and playing with a young chimp, and playing and tickling, etc., and was sitting in front of the window, and there was a dove coming on our food table, which we have for the birds. Then the chimp would immediately stop and look at the bird, at the pigeon that landed on the food table, look a while, and then we would continue stoeiend, struggling and playing. Now, when I did that with my grandchildren, I saw a completely different thing. You sit there, the pigeon lands on thing, and the grandchild looks, stops playing and looks at the pigeon, then looks at you, and looks at the pigeon, and at an age of about 1 year and even younger, when there is no talking yet and no speech, the child points and looks at your face and points at the pigeon, wants you to see that pigeon. So I think a very essential thing is in terms of these social emotions of being connected, sharing your intentionality and drawing your attention to the same things, and sharing also your representations, your world, talking about the things that interest you, which I'm doing here right at the moment, which makes me human. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. So I would like to invite you and you, both gentlemen, to the table because we have some discussion for you. So,
Zijn we ver over tijd?
So, some of those people in the audience sent me questions and pieces, and I printed them out, and you two are going to talk about this. So I have a coin flip, or coin here. I'm going to flip it. If it gives a number, Professor Matsuzawa is going to start. If not, Professor Jan van Hoof is going to start. So we start with Professor Matsuzawa. So Professor Matsuzawa can take 2 cards and we'll read them out.
Oh, written in Dutch.
No. Japanese.
Robots can have a soul. Why can't great apes speak?
So we have 1 thesis and 1 question.
So the first question was, I didn't understand it.
Robots can
have a soul.
Oh, can have a soul. Okay.
So now the decision is up to you. What do you want to discuss about it?
Why can't great apes speak?
Okay. I was hoping you would take the other one, but
Sorry?
why can't great apes speak? A couple of things, of course. First of all, we know that there is a rather remarkable difference between birds and mammals. And that is that birds, not all birds, but a lot of birds, and think of parrots, think of crows, they have a voluntary control of their vocal apparatus. And mammals do not seem to have that. It's very poor. Vocalization in mammals seems to be tied up with emotional responses. It's part of that physiological response that you get in an emotional situation. And so what we see, there is a difference, I think, between the ability to use symbols, to attach symbols to give them meaning, and to use speech, because our primate relatives are very good in attaching meaning to all kinds of symbols. So that's why scientific attempts to develop a sign language, a computer type language, which you have all done, aren't that easy, aren't that difficult. The difficulty is in getting them to transform it. Parrots, Alex the parrot does that easily, and we had a parrot at home which did also, but didn't know what it said. So speaking she could, but she didn't use language. Now Alex the parrot did. So I think that's why not? Because it hasn't been emancipated vocalization in mammals. It has in our species. Now that's a unique thing. We are a unique mammal, I think. We are not. I'd rather be a bird. We wouldn't be unique at all in this respect. In this respect.
Would you agree with this opinion?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you want to comment, or shall we go on to the next question? Okay. There is 1 question in the audience.
Do apes sing?
Do apes
Sing.
Sing.
Without
Sing.
words.
Ik versta het woord niet.
Zingen.
Zingen. Well, they do. My God. But also in a rather ritualized manner. But think of gibbons. If you haven't been in the tropical rainforest and waken up in the morning and you hear this gibbon sing and the siamang sing, it's impressive. And it has a meaning, a very meaning, because these are monogamous animals, pairs. And a pair occupies a territory. And with every singing bout in the morning, you see that they have a duet. The male sings, and then the female comes in, and they exchange quite precisely. And siamangs do it even better. Well, it tells them, each of the 2 partners, she is still in tune with me, in a sense. And it tells also another siamang further down the road who hasn't got a partner, okay, shall I try to get in that marriage and try to separate these two? No, they're so tuned to one another, no chance. But if, to say it in Dutch, als de band wat sleets wordt, if it is a little bit, then one of them may start singing, the other may join in after a while. But the one over there can think, okay, they're not paying that much attention to one another anymore. Let me try if I can break up this thing. So that's the thing that we find in howling monkeys, to do that as a group. And now we're talking about emotions. I'm quite sure, although I have to do with all the uncertainties involved, that somehow you would like to measure endorphins and things like that, and all these beautiful oxytocin, whatever you have, to know what happens when they start singing together, all singing there together, hand in hand, comrades, etc. Things. I'm sure they
can sing.
They can sing.
It's your turn.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
I'm going to.
Please.
No.
Yeah, please.
even chimpanzees are not as fancy as Sherman or Gibbon's songs, but their vocalization is really impressive. Like it's a long distance call. So 1 kilometer away, you can convey the information, I'm here. And so hear the voice, the chimpanzee reply the same panthood. It's 4 sections. Introductory part, crescendo, climax, and coda.
I'm going to read 2 questions, so the audience knows what you... the one is, imagination is what distinguishes humans from chimpanzees. That's the one question. It's an interesting question. Would you prefer to be a chimp or a bonobo? That's the second question. Now I'll tell you which question you will have to answer. Imagination is what distinguishes humans from chimpanzees.
Yes, I believe so. The simplest answer, what is uniquely human? The simplest answer for me is imagination. 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 Chimpanzees love to draw, free drawing. Suppose that you give a white paper, chimpanzee love to draw. But even if you show the red apple, chimpanzee do not pick up red marker, or chimpanzee do not draw circle. So chimpanzee drawing, but not concrete things. But in the case of humans, we draw, or even more. Suppose that there is just a circle. If you show the circle, a blank circle, not solid circle, we can see the circle as a face contour. Then we can imagine the eyes in the blank space. We can imagine nose and mouth in the blank space. And actually, if you draw circle and ear, now it reminds us of the face. Human children love to draw the eyes into the blank space, nose and mouth, and it never happened in chimpanzee. Chimpanzee pay attention to what's there,
what is present. Chimpanzee is so good at see what is present, but chimpanzee is not good at think about what is missing, what is absent. So please remind of you the memory test. It's amazing, extraordinary capability. But actually, the numerals were there in front of you. So chimpanzees are very good at looking at what is present. But we humans cannot see the details at present, but we can think about something missing, absent. We can think about the future. We can look back the past. Chimpanzees are living in the world here and now, but we can think about, imagine something not available at the moment.
May I try to respond to that? Because I wonder if of course we have imagination and we have our mental representation of the world. We can think in abstract symbols. Stephen Hawking can even think of how the universe is constructed and all that. On the other hand, you might wonder whether that is not so much a matter of an absolute difference, but rather one of degree. I would say when chimpanzees, for instance, what Karin Janmaat found and other, that they plan ahead. In other words, that they have somehow a mental representation of the situation they are going to encounter and take that into account in designing the behavior that they're going to do. It is not the kind of imagination that we have, that we can think ahead tremendous. But I would say, in a sense, it is there. And if you think of latent learning, for instance, Tolman's experiments, where he...
No one knows.
Yeah, no, okay. So, in other words, I would tend to question.
Food for thought.
Okay. Well, I don't like to catch the straight ball. I want to say a different thing from your point. So, Jan pointed out imagination, somehow different, but how about planning the future? And as I have told you, imagination, it involves the looking back the past and thinking about the future. So imagination already contains the matter of planning the future. But imagination, what we did not yet mention is imagination. I can imagine how young thinks, how young feel. So imagination in the social context, that may be important too. So why imagination is so important for humans? Maybe two things. One is to understand others' mind, theory of mind, understanding others' mind, to help. Once I recognize that Jan's in trouble, I really want to help you, to give a hand. That is one thing. And the second thing is, suppose that this is mine, I'm very happy to share the food. So sharing, like mother giving the milk. So mammalian roots. So giving things, that is really important character, and that is developed in humans. So thinking of you, then giving a hand, thinking of you, then sharing the food, sharing experience, sharing knowledge, and so this is an ideal case of sharing.
I would like to continue this, but we have to go to the next question.
For hours, but we've more questions. So, yeah, two, please. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh, and short. Great apes value art.
Okay, that's one.
Who is more unfaithful, alpha male or alpha female? Does this differ depending on type of primate? Who is more unfaithful, alpha male or alpha female? Does this differ depending on type of primate?
Okay. When do you come back to the Netherlands? Because we would plan a day for this subject. Because first of all, the question is, which animal, which primate do you think of? Do you think of a marmoset? Or do you think of a bonobo? Do you think of a polygynous chimpanzee? Do you think of a...
Chimpanzee and a bonobo.
No, he said...
Primate.
What primate?
What primate? It was in general. Because you think of for instance, Hamadryas baboon, which live in a system where the male is trying to control access to a number of females. The male there is a despotic male. It's a completely different situation from the bonobo. Marmosets, of course, they share parental care. They are monogamous. So I would say it depends really on the species which you are looking at, and it depends on the reproductive strategies that these species follow. In some species the males are going for fertilizations, and in other words, and the females couldn't give a damn whether the male does, because as long as she is fertilized by a male in a despotic system that is the winner in the despotic competition, she can be assured that probably her sons will also carry the same characteristic. So she doesn't mind, unless there is parental care and parental investment of that male in the offspring of the female, then the female should be very much concerned about whether the male has an interest in other females. So I think it's a beautiful question, but too complex to answer with a simple, depends on things, social ecology, social relationships, all that.
Let's move on to the next question.
Oh.
You can again choose one.
Oh, moet ik er een?
Ja.
Ja, oké. Oh, this I have heard. I can make a better panthood than Van Hoof. You have heard that, but I have not shown mine yet. And the other is research by Daniel Lai shows that computers make better hiring decisions than managers when filling simpler jobs. Man versus machine, which makes better hires? I want to put that question to you.
Really?
Do you
I thought you wanted to show your panthood skills.
I can't beat you.
No, I don't think so.
No, I can't.
I need your help.
You need to help.
Yeah.
Maybe you can answer the question.
You can answer the question.
So we can make better hiring decisions. Is it computers? Reading facial expressions?
Yeah. I think no, computers as yet can't. Because computers are cerebral rationalist systems. They think. Computers can think about lots of things. But they can't read emotions, moods, intentions, let's say what is the soul. And as long as we haven't got computers with a soul, managers will do better, because they look at people and probe the soul of the people. Then the question is, can we make computers that have a soul? What would you think? In Japan, you try to make computers with a soul. Well, then they would do better.
To be fair, Japanese scholars, they are the first to create, so what do they call anthropoid robot?
Humanoids.
Humanoid robot. So really look like humans.
Magic.
So really look like humans. And my point is, it's so interesting to see not the robot but the reaction of the people to see the robot. So for if the anthropoid robot is really look like humans, we project our emotion and feeling to the robot. So that makes this robot more vivid and human. So I am really touched by the observer's response, the human way of looking at robot.
Yeah. Still, I think it's quite interesting. Unless you are a Cartesian dualist, which I think most scientists aren't, it means that even the things that we think are essential for our soul. What is the essence? What do we mean when we talk about the soul? We don't talk about all the cognitive capacities that we have. We talk about the feeling capacities that we have. That has to do with the subject of today, emotions and things like that. Value judgments, opinions, appreciations and all that. When we could, in principle, implant machines that judge the world and have an interest themselves in things like that, so when we equip them with emotional characteristics, I'm not saying it couldn't be done. I think in principle, why couldn't it be done? I don't think we certainly are not going to witness this, and all these chaps that are sitting here are not going to witness this. But from a purely philosophical point of view, if you are a Spinoza man, or if you are not a Cartesian, you would have to agree that it should not be in principle impossible, I think. I don't know what the audience thinks of that.
Are there any comments on that? No? Let's move on to the next one. And maybe this is somewhat applicable to your situation.
After my retirement, I will sit back and relax. What is the biggest difference in social behavior if we compare primates living in the wild and in the captivity? What is the biggest difference in social behavior if we compare primates living in the wild, primates living in the captivity? By the way, I reached to the retirement, but the university gave a special position, so time to become distinguished professor, continue the research. So no retirement.
So no relax.
So the question to Jan is, what is the biggest difference in social behavior if you compare primates in wild, primates in captivity?
It's a question we have always been dealing with, and it's so often asked because you know chimpanzees, you have a chimpanzee colony. We have a chimpanzee colony in Arnhem. It was the first in Europe to have a naturally sized group of adult chimpanzees together. And we have always been asked, can you study the social behavior of these animals when they're living in captivity? Now, I'm convinced that in a sense, the social behaviors that we see are the same. There are different display rules, so to speak. And for instance, one thing which we have been confronted with in the beginning of our colony is that there were a couple of males, there was a couple of females, they formed a homogeneous group, but then the males had to be removed because they were of a subspecies that wasn't wanted because of the stud keeper didn't want that subspecies in the colony. So 3 new males were introduced into the colony. Now you know the chimpanzees are macho type of creatures, quite unlike bonobos, which are. And there is a hierarchy, a male hierarchy. There's a male fraternity, but within that male fraternity there's a hierarchy. And they are bluff and impulsive and all these behaviors which you have done so nicely. Now, that is, of course, what you expect if you have a captive situation. 3 new males were introduced into that colony. What happened? There was a coalition of females, because these three males didn't know one another beforehand. They hadn't formed a coalition. The female coalition beat them up completely. And they simply couldn't. So, a zoo wants to show natural social behavior. So we have a crazy lot of chimps with a female dominance hierarchy. A alpha female on top, mama. She's 59 at the moment. And this is not what we want. So what did we do? We took the three males, put them into the central hall, and let all these rebellious females, one by one, being confronted with the three males. And then the thing was solved. No problem. So, what is the biggest difference in social behavior from comparing primates living in the wild and in captivity? The biggest difference, it's not a big difference, but there is a difference in circumstances that can shape things, and then they are different. But you can easily manipulate things that they are behaving as if they were in the wild. But then, of course, who tells us that we won't see a group in the wild where a female takes the alpha role? I think it's quite unlikely, but why would it be impossible? A transgender.
A transgender.
Yeah. Well, the question is about social behavior, like greeting or grooming, fighting. But in general, what I feel the difference between captive chimpanzee and wild chimpanzee, two major differences. Wild chimpanzee has two kinds of freedom that is not available in captive chimpanzee. One is freedom to move. Mm-hmm. So from one place to the other, to the next. Okay, you go to the zoo. Oh, here is a group of gorillas. Here is a group of elephants. Here is a group of monkeys, Japanese monkeys. That's fine. Japanese monkeys troop, elephant group, and gorilla troop. That's fine. But chimpanzee, as I have told you, fission fusion means 3 chimpanzees and 5 chimpanzees and 7 chimpanzees, always in the different place. Not all chimpanzees come together in one place. So just enclosure and always one group of chimpanzee, no, it's completely opposite to their nature. The second freedom, freedom of eat, freedom of food. In the zoo setting, it's zookeeper. Oh, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Let's feed the breakfast. It's noon. Let's give the lunch. Enough amount of food is given to the chimpanzee, but they have no freedom to eat. They want to eat, they cannot eat. It is always zookeepers make the decision. That is a big, huge change, difference. So that is the reason why the vegetation important. Even in a small area, you try to give the small trees and grasses, and it's not so tasty, not so the best food, but still chimpanzee can access to the food available on the ground. I think that is important for what we call environmental enrichment.
Yeah. On the other hand, I think what we see is that, of course, you can build in choice possibilities in the management procedures. And for one thing, you can give animals a choice to combine with certain others by opening doors, by making them opening doors. And that's a technique that is being used in zoos, probably in the near future. You can have them implant with a chip, and so that some of them can get access to certain areas and others cannot get out. I give you one example, and that has to do with orangutans. Orangutans in the wild have 2 reproductive strategies. so to speak. The one is the dominant males are attractive for females, and females come and approach them. Younger, subadult males, as we call them, unfledged males, they are not attractive to the females, but they go and look for females in the forest and rape them. And that has been described by John McKinnon. Now in zoos, Terry Maple in Atlanta has studied this, in zoos you see occasionally that males rape the females. However, Terry Maple has designed a cage in which the female has the choice to go to the male whenever she wants, and the male can't go into the area where the female is. The behavior of the male changes dramatically. He doesn't rape his females anymore. He wants now to attract them. He becomes increasingly kind. In other words, you can engineer all these options and choices. And I think that's a big challenge for zoos to make, not to make the captivity like the wild, but to create alternative options for animals that give them the opportunity to make these choices. I think there's a lot to be gained there.
Yeah. I think also, and I think we have so many more questions that we would love to talk about, but we are running, unfortunately, out of time. So I would like to suggest to, if for those who want to continue the discussion in Bar Barrera, and for those who have to go, they're welcome to go. But before leaving, there was actually a reason why I put this question here. After my retirement, I will sit back and relax. We now know that this will not be the case. Actually, I would not have expected that at all. But we have a little present for you.
Wow.
Yes, because on March the 12th, directly after this visit to the Netherlands, there will, as I understood, there will be a ceremony for your retirement. So with the audience, we also have some little presents for you. This is a present.
Mickey Mouse?
Mickey Mouse, yes. I think Sanai can explain. And we have a book of the Siebelthuis.
Oh.
And we also have a book
Dank je. Dank je.
And I believe there was also someone in the audience who made a present.
I have a special present, not only for you, but also for Jan, because Jan has also something to look forward to. He is getting closer to his 80th birthday. Wow. And I want, as a present also to you, bind the three of you also, as organizing, because I like meetings like this so much, by giving you all three a present.
Oh, thank you so much.
En arigato zeg ik dan.
Arigato gozaimasu.
And arigato to you.
Wow.
And it's really beautiful. On this side it's showing a smiling chimpanzee, or playful chimpanzee, and another playful chimpanzee, right?
Oh.
It's beautiful. So, thank you very much.
Zeer gewaardeerd. Zeer gewaardeerd. Dankjewel. En Sibel is
So I guess this is something you can do more after your retirement, because we learned that you like mountaineering. So you can. So for those of you who know where Bar Barrera is, go there. For those who don't, wait for me and I will clean up and we will leave in 5 minutes. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.